Finally, now let's move on into setting up Maven. So the first thing that you need to know is now there is no installer specifically for Maven, but Maven comes as a distribution because Maven is an open source tool. So you can just simply download a zip file or a tar file which Maven is going to give based on the operating system, and you just extract it to a location. Okay, so that is the only thing that you're going to do. So now, if you go to the Maven site or Maven download directly, so basically you will be having two types of formats that you can download, where since Maven is open source, now we can actually try to download only the binary, or if needed we can also download the source code of the Maven itself, in case if you want to do some advanced task where you want to modify the behavior of Maven itself, then you can download the source and do. But that is pretty much out of the scope of what we are interested. We are trying to run Maven. We are not interested to change anything from the Maven itself. Okay, so that way it is always that we will be downloading only the binary files, because I just want to run Maven to get some project built. So that way, depending on what kind of platform or the machine on which you are going to run Maven, you have to download this. So if you're working on a Windows machine, then download Maven zip file. If it is a Linux machine or a Mac, then try to download using the tar file. Okay, so the only thing that you have to do is now try to download this and extract it to some directory. That's it, nothing else. Okay, so download this and extract it to some location. Now, after you have downloaded and extracted to some location, now there are a couple of things that you need to know. The first thing that you have to do is you need to make sure you have Java installed on your machine. So minimum, you should have a Java 1.7 version or greater installed on your machine for running Maven, because Maven runs on top of Java only. So you need to have Java installed. So now, if you have installed Java in your machine, you will be getting something called as an environment variable. Once again, for those who doesn't know environment, basically please go through the Linux fundamentals that I have shared as a video. So that will have the details where environment variables are nothing but a variable in which you are going to store some value, and whenever you want, when you are running some commands on the operating system, it will try to pick the value from that environment variable. So basically you are going to store some value and pick it up. In that way, now whether it is a Windows or it is a Linux machine, if you have installed Java, you will be getting a environment variable called Java. Now in Windows, if you want to retrieve a value from an environment variable, then you will say percentage, the name of the environment variable percentage. So that will give you the location what you have installed Java or the value that you have stored in this environment variable. So this way, now first run java-version and ensure Java is installed, as well as you have the environment variable called Java home. So right now I have Java 1.8 as well as the Java environment variable set. The next thing, now after Java, you have to set an environment variable called M2 home. Okay, so once again, if you quickly want to know how is that you're going to set up an environment variable, now go to your machine, right click, properties, and in the properties, go to advanced settings on your left hand side. And in this, if you click, you will get a box in which you go to environment variables. And in the environment variable, you will be getting a box like this. And in this, what you have to do is you have to click new, and whatever the environment variable that you are going to create, you have to put. So in our example, I want to create Java home and I'll put it here. Or if I want to create M2 home, I'll put it here. And whatever value that you want to put, you will be putting it here. So like this, you can see that I have created all the environment variables that is needed for me. So remember, you're going to click on this new. Don't use this if you don't know exactly about your operating system, then use only the first half and try to use this only. Okay, so click this, create a new variable name, whatever you want, and in that, whatever specific value that you want to put, you will be putting it here. Okay. Now, the same thing, if you are trying to use a Linux operating system, then you are going to use some commands like this, where you will be saying export and the name of the environment variable. In my case, I will say m2 home and equal to whatever value that you are going to give, you are going to enter it like this. Okay. So this is how you will be setting a environment variable in Linux. And Windows, you will be going to the system properties, environment variable, and create a new one. So what is the value that you're going to put in a environment variable called m2 home? So basically, if you now look, I have put an environment variable called m2 home. So m2 home is nothing but the directory where you have extracted the content of your Maven specific file which you downloaded. So if you look, this is the directory which I have got by extracting this particular file. So basically I'm using a Windows machine. So I downloaded this zip file, and if I extracted it to some directory, this is the directory where I have extracted it. So m2 home refers to the directory in which you have extracted the contents of your Maven's zip file or the tar file. Okay, so remember, this is the directory that you are going to put as a value for your Maven's installation, that is m2 home. M2 home means the location where you have installed Maven, which is nothing but the directory where you have extracted the contents of Maven. So when you extract, you will be getting some contents in this way, that is the bin folder, lib folder, and all those things. Okay, so this directory is what you are going to give as a name to m2 home. So that I have given it already. Now, along with it, there is one more environment variable called m2. Okay, so what is m2? M2 is another environment variable where you are going to give the directory called bin under your m2 home. So m2 refers to a value under your home directory, that is a bin directory. So now if you see, this is nothing but a bin folder under your home directory, right? So wherever you have extracted the Maven, inside it, you will see a bin folder, right? So you give this path as m2. Simply, m2 is nothing but under your Maven's home directory, that is m2 home. Inside this, you will be having a bin folder. That path is what you are going to give it as the m2 environment variable. Okay, this is the place where you have extracted, and inside it, you will have a bin folder, and that is what you will be giving as a value to m2 environment variable. Okay, so once you have done these two, pretty much it is good enough. But additionally, you will also have to do something called as a path variable setting. Once again, if you don't understand path, please go through the Linux fundamentals to get a deeper understanding. But pretty much to explain now, when you run some tool in operating system, now if you see here, I just ran a command called Java and whatever option to it. Now, where is Java installed? How did it know that there is a application or there is an executable called Java available in this machine and it is trying to pick it up, right? So that is because you have an environment variable called path, in which basically we will be having the list of directories where if you run a command or an executable, and if this executable is found in any one of the directory that you have given here, then basically the operating system will pick and run. So that is how, if you say Java, actually I have given the directory of where Java is available in the machine. Okay, so that is how it is able to pick it up. In the same way, now if you want to call Maven, the executable for Maven is this MVN, which is available under the bin folder where you have extracted the contents of Maven. So now we have to give this path to the path environment variable. So that is what we have to do is in your path environment variable, you try to add this directory under which you have the Maven executable. That is, this is actually the M2 variable that we have created, right? So the content of the M2 should be added to the path environment variable. So that is how when you run Maven from anywhere, the operating system will try to search and it will try to find the directory that you have given. So because of this, it will be able to invoke the command. So if you have not added it here, it will not be knowing where to search for that executable, and that is when it will be giving some command like it doesn't know that where to run this command. So that is why we need to add the path variable and we need to give the directory where the Maven executable is available, which is nothing but it is available in this. So here, if you set the environment variable by adding the value of the path where you have the bin location, you separate it by semicolon or a colon depending on your operating system, Maven will be understanding, or the operating system will know where exactly is Maven. So now if you see, to this path variable, I have added one more value. So the Maven is available under this location, this one, this path, I have added it. So now if I basically run Maven, what operating system will do is it will search in all the directories separated by semicolon, and if it is available in any one of this directory, it will pick it up. And I have given that in one of the directory here. So the operating system will know that, okay, Maven is available in this location. So let me call it from wherever you are running it, and it is going to execute. So you can see right now I am using the 3.3.9 version and Java 1.8. Okay, so this is how, if you get this output, it means that you have extracted Maven properly and you have set all this environment properly, and you also have set the Java properly. Okay, so make sure you get this output, and if you get, you have set up the Maven, simply correct it. Okay, so it's all about extracting the content and specifying the environment variable properly. Okay, clear on this first thing on what you have to set for creating a Maven environment on your machine? Vinay, Hari. All right, fine. So now, once we have set everything, let's start creating a project and work. But when you go to a company, there will be already a project available. But now, for us to begin a project from the scratch, what is that I need? Now, we have to go back to this, where if I'm creating a project, first I have to create a pom.xml, and then corresponding to it, I need to create a standard directory structure, right? So rather than doing all those things, in Maven, we can again simplify the method where we can create a dummy project or a temporary project for practicing. And if needed, you can use the same thing for your production also. The only difference is you just replace the dummy files which Maven is going to give us for practicing with the actual files, because it is also going to have the same directory structure on the pom.xml. So only the contents will be varying. So that way, now you can use a command called Maven archetype generate, where this is again a goal which you are passing to Maven. And against it, it is going to call a plugin through which it is going to create a template for us which we can use to practice. And that template will have a standard pom.xml, and it will also have a standard directory structure and some dummy or sample files which we can use for practicing. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, in my machine, I have practically created one folder. Okay, so I have actually created a folder like this, CVesva Maven, where all the Maven related projects I'm going to store, just like how I used the Vesva Git folder for storing everything related to Git, I'm going to create it. So it is not mandatory that you have to create it. So it is just a folder that you create in your machine where you can remember and search for the files whenever it is needed. Okay, so that way, now what I'm going to do is I'll go to that folder first. So first I'll go to that folder. Okay, and in this, if you see, there is nothing inside it. So first thing that we will do is we will run this command. So what it is going to do, Maven is going to help us by creating a template or a sample project. Okay, okay, what exactly it did. Now the name of the goal that I passed is nothing but archetype generate. That means you are trying to create a sample project of a specific architecture type. So it is giving you a list of architectures available in the Maven against which it will be giving the directory structure in the format what you wanted. So based on a format that you want, you can choose this, but pretty much you can alter it any point of time. So don't have to worry in case in the organization the developer will tell you what is the type of project based on which you can create a new project with this number, or any point of time you can create a standard template and from that you can change everything. So it is no difference. So now let us use the standard template of number 981. So if you just enter, it is going to pick up that. Okay, and in that there are multiple versions which Maven is giving. Again, it's not of a much interest, so just press enter and it will take the default version of this template. Okay, after this, if you note, it is basically asking us what is the group ID, that is the first value of your project. So you have to give a specific value. So let me say this is the name of the company, and then it is going to ask you the artifact ID, which is the name of our project. So I'm going to give demo as the name of the project, and then it is going to ask us what is the product version which you are trying to interested to release. Now here we are not doing any release, so as of now let's forget about giving a release number and let us use a standard name which is being used for the version. We will talk more about what it is and why we need specifically, but as of now, since we are not using any release, it is only for some kind of testing purpose, I will use a standard version which Maven gives, which is 1.0 snapshot. Okay, so if you just enter, it is going to take the same, and then what is the name of the package that you want to create. So basically now when you do a Maven package, what is the file name that you want to create is what it is asking. So once again, if you have any specific interest, you can give. If you just enter, it will take the default name whatever is available. Okay, so it is trying to cross check on the configuration and it is asking us to confirm. So if you go ahead and press yes by Y, so it is going to confirm, and what it has done now, if you look under the directory where you have run, it has actually created a folder with the name of our project what we have given. So we have given the name of our project as demo, right? So it has created, and inside it if you go, you can see it has created the directory structure whatever is needed, as well as a standard pom.xml also. So it has actually given us a complete template or a practice file or a folder for our project. Okay, so in that if you go under the src, you can now see you have a main folder and a test folder, and further under the main you can see there is a Java folder, and in this you are going to have a sample file. So actually it has put as a sample file called app.java under the src main Java. Now this is a sample or a simple sample project. That is why you do not have much complicated folder, but based on the requirement you have to just add. Is my voice audible to everyone? Hari, seems to be a problem from your side if you're not able to hear it. Sorry, is it a problem for everyone? Is it audible? Okay. Hari, can you please reconnect? Okay. So now here, as I said, it is going to give us a sample file called app.java. Okay, it is only for practicing. Now, if you go to the production, instead of the app.java, you can create any files that you want, or if you have a specific project file, you can put it inside it. So they basically, that is what you are going to do, where you can replace this app.java with any actual source code that you have for your project. But if not, for practicing, we can make use of this app.java, which has been given by the standard Maven template. Okay, next, if you further go under the test, you will once again see a Java folder, and in this you are going to see a app test.java. Okay, so this is the test file related to our app.java. Getting it? So we had a app.java under src main Java folder, and this test app, that is app test Java, is used to test the file under the src main Java folder. Okay, so like this, for each folder that you have under the src main, you are going to equally create a test file, which is again a Java file. So now we have actually created the standard directory structure, and we have some dummy files inside it, as well as I have a pom.xml through which I'm ready to practice my Maven or to run the build for Maven. Okay, so now in order to run Maven, we have set all the configuration. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to go inside our project folder. Okay, so remember, when you're working on Maven and you're invoking Maven, as I said, you need to basically first go inside the folder in which you have the pom.xml available. So you have to run the Maven from the location where you have the pom.xml. So if you're running from any other location, then you need to specify where is the pom.xml, because by default, when you run Maven, it is going to search for the pom.xml in the same directory as where you are invoking Maven. So that is why you always have to go inside the project, and from the same directory where you have the pom.xml, you have to call the Maven. Okay, so now we are inside the project. We have all the files that we need. Assume that as a developer has done some change, and now we have to run the Maven project. So in order to run, let's go through the Maven's lifecycle phase one by one. Now directly I can call package, I can call install, but let us go through one by one and see how it is going to behave. So first thing is, let us call Maven and compile. Okay, so what it is going to do, the first thing it is going to do is, it is going to take a list of sources and resources that is needed. And for that, it is going to call a plugin. So how is that it is going to recognize a plugin? So for generating the sources and resources, it is going to use a plugin, and this is the GAV of that plugin. Again, we are trying to use a default plugin which Maven is giving, and this is what you see it. And using it, it is trying to generate the sources and the resources. Okay, and after that, it is coming to the compilation step, and for compiling, it is using the default compiler plugin. Again, that is being referred by a GAV that you can see here. And using it, now it is trying to compile a file. So now, since we have followed the directory structure, we don't have to tell to Maven on what file you have to pick and how many files you have to pick, because that is the advantage of using Maven, where without doing much, you can get your project built very easily. Because the same thing, if you are going to use any other tool, you have to write code in terms of specifying where your project file is, and when you say compile, how many files you have to build, all those things has to be specified. But Maven is smart enough where if you just follow the directory structure which Maven is giving, it will automatically read. That is the reason why we are following the directory structure by putting everything under src main Java. So right now it is automatically reading the structure, and it is saying that there is one file available, that is app.java, and corresponding to it, it is trying to compile it. So basically now it has compiled the app.java. So where is it going to put the output? On your project folder. Now, if you see, you would be getting a folder called target. So when Maven is running, all the output files that it is going to create will be put under the target folder, which will be inside your parent project folder only. So on the same directory where you have the src and pom, it is going to create a folder called target, and it is going to put the output inside it. So now, since it has compiled, it will be creating a folder called classes, and inside it, if you go, you can see there will be a class file corresponding to your project. Okay, so what it did now, so corresponding to this main Java that we had, it has actually compiled and put it into the target folder under classes. Okay, so compilation means converting this Java and putting it as a class file here. Okay, that is what the first thing. So now, even though if you have hundreds of file here, Maven will be trying to pick all of them, and it will try to compile one by one and put it up here. Now look at it, what happens if I run second time. When you run it once again, Maven is not going to redo everything. And Maven is smart enough to now know that it clearly says that there is nothing needed to compile. All the class files are up to date, because whatever the content that you have in the app.java, corresponding to it, it has created a file called app.class, right? So unless and until you have modified this file, you don't have to recreate it. So that is how, if a developer has not modified the file, then Maven doesn't have to rebuild it again. That is how it is smart enough to know. So first thing it checks is if there is a file already available, and if it is available and the content that you have is equivalent to that, then it is not needed to build. But in case if the file is not there, then it will create the file. But if the file is available and the content what it is there is not exactly of what you have here, that means you have modified it, so then it will go ahead and rebuild it. But this time you have the same file and there is no change in the source, so it is not going to rebuild. So that's how you are again going to save some time by running the build through Maven. Okay, so once you have completed the compile step, next let's move on to the next phase called test. So what will happen when I say test? It is basically once again going to come from generating source, compile, and then test. In this, it is not going to run the compile because we just now saw that it knows that it has already done the compile and it is going to move on to the next phase. Okay, but it is going to always come from the top, where first it will generate the resource, and then corresponding to it, it will try to compile. And in the compile, it is saying nothing to compile because we have already compiled it some time back. So after that, it is basically trying to take the test related files and it will compile them first. So that is how. So if you go to src test and Java, you have a test file which is used to test this file. So now corresponding to this, if you go to the target folder, it would have created a test classes, and inside that it will be putting a class file for this app test.java. So that is the first thing that it does when you say test. And after that, using this class file, it is going to test this particular class file. And whatever output that you are going to get, it is going to put it under a report folder. Okay, so you see here, now whatever in the app test.java it has written, and it is trying to execute based on that, and it is trying to say that these are the details that it has picked up, how many tests you have done, and what is its corresponding output. All those things it is going to put it up here. So specifically, the output will be available in this target folder. So that's how first when you run the test, it is going to compile the test related files, and then it is going to run the test basically using that output file, and it is going to generate the report. So that's how we are going to see whether it is successful or not. So in case if you have a problem anywhere, it is going to stop exactly at that location and give you the error. Okay, so once you have compiled, the next thing you're going to do is test. And after test, what is that you're going to do? Basically, you are interested to create a package or a deliverable. And the default deliverable, what we are going to use is a jar file. So now if you say Maven package, what is it going to do? Once again, it is going to come from the beginning where it will compile, test, and package. But in this now, since we have already done the step, what it is going to do is, even though it is going to come from beginning, it will just only rerun the test, whereas all the other steps have done. And after doing the test, it is going to call a plugin specifically to create a package. And since we have not specified any type of the package, the default package that it is going to use is jar type. So that is one. It is going to use a specific plugin and a GAV to identify, and it is creating a jar file. So where is it going to create the jar file? So the jar file once again will be available under the target folder, and you can see that there is a jar file available. And the name of the jar file will always be the name of your project hyphen the version that you have specified for this project. So if you recall some time back, while creating the Maven project or running the archetype generate, I gave the name of the project, that is the artifact ID, as demo, and the version is the standard. So it is going to create the output or a deliverable exactly with this name always. Okay. So to just quickly see this, now I will try to convert this into a zip file and show you what is the content, because now this jar file is going to contain all the output of your classes. So if you had 10 files, those 10 classes will be available inside this. Okay, so let me show you. So first I'll try to rename this. Let's go to the target folder. Okay, and I'll try to rename this file from demo.jar to demo.zip file. So you can see it has renamed, right? So here, let's extract it. Now you can see the content inside this. Actually, you have two folders, which is nothing but the name of your project. And inside that, you will be having a class file. Okay, so that is how when you're trying to create a project, you're going to run it one by one. So that is how now, if you want to run the project, you will not be doing all the steps one by one. Simply, if you need the project, all you're going to do is you're basically just going to say Maven package, where depending on the steps which is not done, it is going to come from the beginning and it is going to do one by one. Okay, and finally, if the jar file is not created, it is going to create the jar file. Okay, so this is the package. So most commonly we will be using only the package. The install and the deploy are special cases that I'll be covering it little later when we go through dependencies. But for now, the most important that you need to know is how do you compile, how do you test, and how do you create a package out of it. Okay, and let's look at the other phase of the lifecycle that we have, that is clean, which will be using it more commonly. So now inside this, if I say Maven clean, what it is going to do, it is going to basically delete all the class files or the jar file or any output file that I have created, which means now this target folder itself is completely going to be deleted, because this file or the folder was created as an output of running different steps, and only inside it you had all these things, right? So when you say a clean, it is going to basically delete the complete target folder itself. Okay, And again, if you see, it is calling only this plugin or no other step. Whereas the other default, it used to come from the beginning, but in this, it is calling only this. And now you can see you don't have the Maven output at all. So like this, you're going to clean, and whenever you want, now if you say Maven package, it is going to once again come from the beginning where it is going to generate the source, and then it is going to generate the test related compilation step, and it is going to test and create the jar file. Okay, so basically this is what you're going to do, where you will invoke a particular phase, and based on that, Maven will be trying to behave on everything. Getting it? Are you guys getting it? Okay, so if you look now, Maven is actually smart enough, because if you think what we did, the only thing that we did is we created just a folder. That is the structure that is needed, and we created a file. So by this, it automatically knew what and all it has to do, what files it has to pick up, right? So that is how, if you follow the standard structure and if you follow a pom.xml, Maven will take care of doing everything that is needed. So that way, if you try to look into the Maven's pom.xml, you can see literally it doesn't even have 10 lines, and even these lines are the standard lines which you are using. The only thing that you have in this is your GAV. So here you can see the POM is actually a XML file in which whatever the GAV that you have specified, it is going to use. So with respect to this, without having any content as well as without giving any other details, the only thing that we did is we followed a standard pom.xml as well as the src folder, and using this, it was able to generate the project for us. So that is the advantage, where in fact, if you see, less than half an hour, we were able to get a project built on a Maven without putting too much of effort. The same thing if you're using any other build configuration, then you have to specify all the details on where is your source code, and for that source code what you have to do, and how many source code you have to pick up, what is the output you have to put, what is the name of the files it has to put it as an output, where it has to put, right? And what step you have to perform first, and then all those dependencies you have to specify. But using Maven, you can see it is quite easy, where we just have to follow two things: follow the standard directory structure inside which you are going to put the file, and then use a pom.xml which is going to give all the details. And that too, we don't have to give any details. By default, if you're using the default standard, then it is going to help us to work on everything. But in a production, you are not always going to work on default. So there will be some necessity where you want to tweak the process, do something additionally using it, or you want to do something more which Maven is not doing. So that is how we will be trying to add those more details into the pom.xml and tell Maven to act accordingly. So that's what we will be seeing it in the next session. Okay, so pretty much I'll stop it today. So is it clear so far on what is the standard structure, what is the Maven lifecycle, and how you're going to create a project, and with a combination of these two things, how Maven is exactly going to work using all those things? So the only thing now we have to do is, for a developer, you just have to ask him to create a structure in the same way and the file, wherein as we need, we are going to modify the POM and just call Maven with the goal, which is nothing but a lifecycle phase. Based on that, Maven, it is going to help us in creating the project.